Alex here with a legal nuts and bolts video on It Gets Faster. What I really wanted to explain in this video is that, and this is mainly a struggle with a lot of people who are trying to do research that have never done it before. Just because it's taking like 20 hours to do research now doesn't mean it's going to take 20 hours to do it later on. In fact, each time that you go and do research for your case, it gets quicker because a lot of the glue and the definitions and the sort of the gaps that you fill in during the previous times that you've done research, you no longer have to look up again. And I really wish there was a better way to explain it, but it's not so much that each time you have to do research, you have to look up all the same things, as each time you have to do research, you only have to look up new things. And so one of the things people are frustrated with is they're like, I don't know how you do this with a full-time job. And I sort of have to tell them it was only like that for me in the beginning, because in the beginning I didn't know anything. And so I would go and look at statutes, case law, and rules, and I'd be like, I don't understand this. This is all legalese. And so I'd have to learn the terms before I could even learn sort of what the whole statute was saying. I didn't know, sometimes I would wonder, wow, I could read this 2 or 3 different ways. What do I do? And then later on, I'd be like, oh my gosh, there's a doctrine of statutory construction. It tells you how to read statutes, how to, it tells you about the plain language rule and and how to read 2 different statutes in 2 different schemes harmoniously to avoid an absurd result. And I would be like, wow. So the next time I would do research, these little things, you remember them, and so you don't have to research those things again. And so each time you go back and do research, you are able to do it quicker, and you're actually more successful too. What's one of the things that's really frustrating is that you'll spend a lot more time in the beginning and be wrong, and then later on you'll end up spending like an hour or 2 and you'll be like more accurate or more on point. It's kind of a weird, I don't know, I guess what I'm trying to say is when you're doing your research and you're frustrated because it's taking forever, try and think about the fact that you're not just doing research for the particular thing that you're going to court on right now. You're doing research for that and all the times in the future that you're going to have to go back. And that's probably what makes people not even want to do it in the first place. Most people aren't thinking, oh my God, I can't wait to spend all this time doing research just so that I can do it again 3 months later. Most people are thinking, this needs to be it. I just need to win, and this needs to be over. I don't want to go back to court ever again. And the problem with, I know this is a legal nuts and bolts video because this kind of principle is going to apply to any type of case, but most of my viewers are high conflict child custody viewers. But anyway, the problem with a high conflict child custody case is it's not going to end, even if you win, because the opponent is obsessed with the high conflict. They can't let the conflict end. So even if you win, they're still going to find ways to frustrate you, and you're going to end up having to go back to court again. So instead of seeing it as, I cannot accept the reality that I'm going to end up going back to court another 25 times, just think to yourself, you know what, worst case scenario is what I'm going to plan for. Worst case scenario is I'm going to have to go back to court 25 more times after this. So me doing 20 hours of research for this silly little issue that they should have just agreed on isn't such a big deal, because all the 20 other times in the future I'm going to have to do research, I'm going to benefit from what I'm doing now. I'm going to get faster. I'm going to get better at looking up certain keywords and phrases. So it all makes sense, when I end up going back for the 4th, 5th, 6th, 10th time. It sucks to have to say it that way, because most people, I think 99% of people think, I'm going to go and do this now. I'm going to spend the money on the attorney now. I'm going to do the research now. I'm going to be done. And that's it. I'm never going back to the court system again. But that's just not the reality at all when it comes to a high conflict X, unless you want to just give up. And sadly, I talk about that in the video, how abusers win. That's one of the ways abusers win. They just tire you out and you just give up. And then of course the kids suffer, at least in the sense of a high conflict case. And I think I've mentioned this before, at least in one of the live streams. A lot of the reasons why people don't even bother with this on money cases, it's just not worth it. You've been ripped off for $1,000. That's a lot of money, but is it worth the stress and the anxiety and all the work of learning the law just to represent yourself? For a lot of people, it's not. And before the advent of small claims courts, it just wouldn't happen. But now that there's small claims courts, people are more willing, because you don't really have to do any research. Just sort of walk in and start talking. So anyway, I'm not going to go into any more tangents. The point I wanted to make in this video is it gets faster. It really does. And one of the best, I don't know, for me, I sort of sense this. For me, it was a little bit of desperation in the beginning. I really didn't do a whole bunch of research in the beginning, but I started to sort of sense this. I started to sort of realize that this sucks to have to do all this research now. It's taking forever. I don't want to do it. I'd rather do something else, but I know I'm going to end up coming back again. I know my ex. I know this is going to just get out of control, and so I'm just going to suck it up and do it because the work I'm doing now is going to not just help me now. It's going to also help me in the future. I don't know. Hopefully that kind of, I guess, realization helps people sort of stomach through those first couple of years, because I know it just doesn't seem worth it, especially when you lose. To do 20 hours of work and to lose, I know it feels horrible, but you know, with anything in life, that's just, I mean, with anything with a high learning curve, at least. There's some things out there that don't have a steep learning curve that you can really quickly pick up and go. But, I mean, law has a steep learning curve. Anything with a steep learning curve, not just law, it's the same way. And I guess, I mean, I guess that's why it's why a lot of people hire attorneys, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just the problem is the high conflict cases never end, so a lot of people can't afford it because they don't end, because it's not just a really quick, you know, 3 to 6 month hearing, few appearances here and there. It's a year after year after year, never-ending thing. You know, the point of the video, I think I've kind of gone beyond it, but I'm going to go ahead and stop it here. I hope that it's an inspiring video and not one that instills like despair in people, because I feel like that's what it's going to do. I don't know. Put it in the comments below, anyone who feels like this video just made them feel even worse about doing the research. But I mean, that's the reality of it. That's the truth of it. That's what I ended up doing. And I guess that's what I'm trying to tell everyone now is it does get faster if you stick with it. You know, after a couple of years, you'll be able to fight for your kids and not have to put in all that time, and of course not have to put in all that money, because you won't be hiring or paying an attorney. Anyway, I think I'm going to go ahead and end this video at this point, and I'll see you guys next time.